In a quiet town surrounded by lush forests, a mysterious bond between a girl and a wild animal would soon defy all logic and reason. A young woman named Emma, known for her love of nature and her courageous spirit, never imagined that a chance encounter with an abandoned wolf cub would change her life forever. Little did she know, the bond she formed with this cub, whom she named Shadow, would not only lead to an incredible friendship but also save her from an unimaginable fate. But when tragedy strikes, and Emma is declared dead after a sudden seizure, it is Shadow, the loyal wolf, who will become the only one to know the truth, and his actions will reveal a miraculous secret that no one could have predicted. What happened next will leave you questioning the deep, mysterious connections between humans and the creatures they share the earth with. In the quiet town of Willow Creek, a chilling and unexpected event would soon capture the hearts of everyone who witnessed it. Emma, a young woman with a deep connection to nature, had always loved the woods, where she felt most at peace. Her best friend, Shadow, a wild wolf cub she had saved from the forest years ago, had grown into a powerful and protective creature by her side. Together, they formed an unbreakable bond. But when Emma's sudden death shocked the community, no one could have predicted the strange and miraculous events that followed. During her funeral, as mourners gathered to say their final goodbyes, Shadow burst into the room, heartbroken and frantic. With an eerie determination, he leapt into Emma's open coffin, refusing to leave her side. What happened next was more than a strange act of grief. It was the beginning of a story that would defy life and death. As the room filled with sorrow, John, Emma's fiancé, stood frozen, his heart shattered at the sight of the love of his life lying lifeless in her wedding dress. The wedding they had so eagerly awaited had turned into a funeral. And he couldn't bear to see her like this. But as he tried to coax Shadow, the wolf, away from Emma's coffin, something in the creature's eyes made him hesitate. The wolf refused to leave her side. His eyes filled with a deep sorrow and understanding that went beyond grief. John, confused and desperate, remembered the first time he had met Emma. She was a woman of immense compassion, always caring for animals, and their shared love for the forest brought them together. Emma had rescued Shadow from the wilderness years ago, nursing him back to health, unaware that this wolf would soon return the favor in the most unbelievable way. As the wolf continued to mourn, John could not shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The memory of how Emma first encountered Shadow seemed like a lifetime ago. It was a crisp autumn day when she ventured deep into the woods for one of her regular hikes. Seeking solace from the bustling town life, her epilepsy had often made the crowded, noisy streets unbearable, but in the forest, she felt free. As she set up her tent, a faint whimper echoed through the trees. Curiosity piqued, she stepped outside and discovered a tiny, trembling wolf cub near the edge of the woods. His fur was matted, his eyes wide with fear, and his body frail from hunger. Emma's heart went out to the creature, but she knew the risks. A wolf's mother could be nearby, and they were known to be fiercely protective. But Emma's compassion overruled her fear. She carefully approached the cub, and to her relief, no mother appeared. The small creature looked up at her with desperate, pitiful eyes, and without hesitation, Emma scooped him into her arms. She could sense that something had happened to this wolf cub, and the woods had become too dangerous for him to survive alone. Emma knew she couldn't leave him, so she took him home. It was the beginning of a miraculous bond that neither of them could have ever imagined. Emma knew that she couldn't raise a wolf on her own. While Shadow was a small cub now, he would grow into a fierce wild predator, one who needed the wilderness to thrive. After much thought, she took him to a local wildlife sanctuary where he could be cared for and eventually return to his natural habitat. The sanctuary's staff, particularly a kind-hearted man named John, promised they would look after him. Over time, Emma visited Shadow as often as she could, forming a bond not only with the wolf but also with John, who shared her love for nature. Their friendship blossomed into something more, and before long, John asked Emma to marry him. She joyfully agreed, and they set a date for their wedding. However, fate had other plans. Emma's epilepsy, a condition she had long struggled with, took a sudden and tragic turn. One day, John arrived at her home to find her lifeless body, and despite frantic efforts from medical personnel, she was declared dead. Devastated, John decided to honor her wish of wearing her wedding dress. though it seemed impossible to imagine a wedding without his bride. At her funeral, as the mourners gathered, something unimaginable happened. Shadow, now a grown wolf, burst into the room, his eyes filled with an urgent, desperate energy. Without hesitation, he leapt into Emma's open coffin and refused to leave her side. It was as if he knew something that no one else did.